welcome to Ikate's Crossing as we continue with our exploration of the Universal Heart by Stephanie Dowrick. So I just want to have a little bit of an exploration of the book, just sort of an introduction in a way, just to sort of get you this is a book that you could definitely read for yourself in your own pace, at your own pace, as you sort of understand the message in the book. Okay, so today's card from Vesta's Oracle of Passion, which you can find on Make Playing Cards, is Vision with Clarity. So it's being able to see things with a sense of clarity, having a sense of clarity within the direction that you want to move into. And the second card we've got is Listen with Your Heart. Interesting. And they're both sort of in that sort of purpley blue, so it's very much about the truth, looking at the messages that you're coming in from the divine, the messages that are coming in unexpectedly, and being aware of those messages that are coming in for you in however way that they're coming in. So let's have a look at what we're up to here. So we're up to know what's going on. So let's have a read of this chapter. In order to have new ideas, we have to open ourselves to life as is, not as habit would have it. We need to surrender to reality. Piero Ferrucci. Know what's going on. Look at those words lying harshly on the page, gazing at them. I'm reminded of a child's wooden train, its brightly painted carriages lying on a floor where they can be stepped over, tripped over, crushed, avoided, or ignored. In the intricate, contradictory, but fascinating world of human relationships, even to attempt to know what's going on is really easy. I'm not thinking of when life seems to move along almost of its own accord. Events flow into each other and a feeling of well-being can be relied upon. In those times, we can almost forget ourselves and certainly take life's goodness for granted. What's more complicated are the periods when our relationships feel somewhat empty, boring, unreal, or unsatisfying. We hear ourselves saying what we didn't intend to say. Our minds fill with dire warnings and mutterings. We witness ourselves backing away from a situation that would usually feel comfortable. We find ourselves picking fault and getting irritable with the people we are working with or profess to love. We may have a whole range of strategies to use at these times, and some of these strategies may work well for us. We can feel proud of what we've learned and confident about what we can handle. Relationships, though, are dynamic, mercurial, ever-changing. They don't stand still any more than we do, even in the most trusting and committed relationships. Familiar strategies are not always enough. Problems can arise that may feel like stumbling blocks, or worse. Sometimes a shift of awareness is needed rather than a remedy, in search of new insights. Sensing something in your life is out of harmony or balance, it's always tempting to rush in and talk it over with someone else, or to fall back on the familiar relationship mantra that because a situation is difficult, it should be put out there, processed, or worked at. But I'm not so sure about the wisdom of that. Talking something through with another person can be marvelous. In healthy relationships of all kinds, there is usually a good deal of wide-ranging, lively talking and real confidence that pretty much anything can be said. Sometimes talking can even work miracles as one person truly opens up to the other person's separate inner experience, and the two shift to a different level of understanding. Yet the rush to find out what someone else thinks or to let them know what you think can also be a barrier to discovering. When any version of a close relationship is stuck or feels as though there is a heavy sense of repetition, talking is often not the best place to start. Apart from anything else, there is usually one person in almost any relationship who values talking more highly than the other. It is not always the woman in a heterosexual relationship, or the adult child of an aging parent, or the female parent of the silent adolescent, or the more extroverted of two friends or colleagues, but is more likely to be any entrenchment of roles is a hurdle here. So is talking too soon, or with too much invested in a speedy outcome? That can also limit us, paralyze us into stubborn positions, drain us, or keep our attention fixed on justifying ourselves without learning much that's new or helpful. What helps most is to start with an honest exploratory conversation with yourself. preferably writing out your questions and then your answers, rather than continuing the disembodied conversations you're already having in your own mind. Simple questions can be exceptionally useful. What's familiar here? What seems most confusing? Am I feeling out of sorts? Am I being straightforward? What outcome do I want? What would achieve it? Those are questions you can take you beyond what you already know. It can give you exquisite release from the tedium of moving in increasingly smaller circles, growing frustrated and impatient, or searching the landscape for someone to blame. Even those of you who are most laid back or the least introspective will have patches when you feel uneasy or unsettled, often without knowing why. Or you know something is being asked of you, but don't have a clue how to respond. This can come up at work as often as it does at home. Something in your life is pushing you to a new level of insight, even maturity, and you're floundering, getting irritable, finding it hard to make small decisions. Maybe you're drinking too much or burying yourself in more work than usual, or you've begun dreaming of African safaris or retirement to the province. Rushing to talk is tempting, but the rush itself tells you that the insight you need is always someplace else, not within you. Talking can also be much more about expressing or relieving our anxieties than it is about communication. We need to get something off our chest or to make an attempt to break a circuit of uncertainty, and we may make our move outwards too early or too insistently. As one person talks, the other may inwardly turn away, feeling overwhelmed, inadequate, or lost, because so much is being asked of them, and often in ways that are indirect and hard to follow. In terms of the energy that flows between people, when unproductive talking happens, one person often becomes more and more wound up, energetic, over the top, while the other person often literally loses energy, collapses inside and on the outside, shrinks into a posture of helplessness. This kind of talking is obviously frustrating. The point and pleasure of talking is to communicate, but when the communication goes awry, at least one person is invariably left feeling frustrated, and the other person may well feel defeated, or perhaps both become defensively over-emphatic, stating their point of view too vehemently or withdrawing too rapidly, and stripping the conversation of its appropriate ambiguity and complexity. If that's all you have to say, clearly there's no point talking about this. Either way, no one has more sense of what's really going on. That's it for today. Don't forget to check links down below, check links on my channel, like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Take care.